Well, let's go ahead and get started. We have about 5 people on, so I want to be respectful of everybody's time. So we'll welcome everybody to today's workshop. My name is Paul Lewis. I'm the Director of Job Assistance with the People's Resource Center. We're excited to have you today on this rainy morning. So just a couple guidelines for the virtual workshop. If you can go ahead and mute your microphone so that way we don't have any distractions while we're presenting. You are able to please turn on your video. We'd love to be able to see you if possible, but if you do have any questions, we would encourage you to put those in the chat. I'll be monitoring the chat throughout the presentation. So if you have any questions, we can stop about halfway through. If not, we'll have plenty of time to answer your questions at the end. Best sort of practice for these types of workshops, so you can see the face of the presenter as well as the information that's being presented. If you go to view options and go to side-by-side mode, it'll do a split screen so you can see both information. Everything that is said during this presentation is confidential, so if you have any questions or want to share a personal experience that we can answer at the end, it's something that won't be shared with everybody else. And obviously, we really like to thank Beth and Glen Ellyn Public Library for hosting us today. We really enjoy it.
I am going to jump in very quickly, Paul, because I do want to apologize ahead of time. What you're showing and what you just said, some of that is not actually the way the library created this presentation. This presentation is in webinar mode. What that means is that the attendees cannot turn on their microphones, they cannot turn on their videos, and this program is being recorded.
Oh, good to know. So then I'll just, what I'll do is I'll just monitor the chat. And then that way, if we have any questions, people put in the chat, I can address them right then and there.
Great, thank you.
Sorry about that. So just a little bit of background about the People's Resource Center, if you're not familiar with what we do. We offer a variety of different services, which is free to DuPage County residents. So we offer our food pantry twice a week at both our Wheaton and Westmont locations. So 2 times a week in Wheaton, 2 times a week in Westmont. It is a curbside pickup model currently. A lot of these things, most of the services that we talk about, we're still kind of in basic service mode in the sense that we're doing everything with restrictions in place because of the pandemic. So all of our empowerment services are virtual. So both our adult learning and literacy, our computer training and access, our job assistance program, all of just like these workshops that we're running virtually. All of these are virtual with the anticipation of going back to in-person normal mode whenever the pandemic gets better. So we always like to talk about the computer training program offered at PRC. It's a great supplement to our job assistance program, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. If you're looking to boost your skills in computers, even if it's something as basic as just learning how to turn on a computer or how to work a computer, we have classes available for that, all the way to something more complex. So we have a great certification program where you can get your Microsoft Office certification and become an expert in Microsoft Word and Excel. All of this, again, is free of charge to PRC clients and DuPage County residents. So it's a really great opportunity if you're looking to boost your resume with some additional qualifications. This certification course is a great thing to consider, and it's self-paced, but we also have computer classes scheduled if you want to learn together in a group virtually as well. So a couple highlights about our job assistance program. We offer one-to-one job coaching. It's very individualized, so we meet our clients where they're at in their job search, and we can help you from everything from interview techniques, going over how to answer common interview questions. We can help you with your job search strategy. Depending on what you're looking for, we can help you, find the best website or find the best way to apply for those jobs. We can make sure you're job ready. Make sure that you have all the tools and resources on hand to successfully land the job. We can also help you with your resume and cover letter. So if you need your resume updated or added or just refreshed, we have a great team that can do that for you. Rhonda is actually one of our excellent resume and cover letters people, and she's going to be helpfully presenting today. We also offer KX self-assessment skills test, which is a great way for you to kind of see how qualified you are for certain positions. So if you're looking to, switch careers and you say, hey, I'd love to do something in customer service, or I'd love to do something in administration, there's a variety of tests you can take on this website that we have access to see how proficient you are in a variety of different softwares or skills needed to be successful in that career. And these are a great, if you get a high score, this is a great thing to put on your resume. It's nationally recognized. software. So we also have a online job board. So I have connections with employers all throughout DuPage County that send me open positions, which I post on our job board. So I have connections with the HR representatives there. So this is a great opportunity for people that are PRC clients. If you want to see what jobs are available locally to you with people that are employers that PRC has a relationship with, this is a really great opportunity. Something that I strongly encourage you all to take advantage of. So without further ado, I want to introduce you all to Laura, Charles, and Rhonda. They're going to be presenting with you today, Resumes versus Robots.
All right, thank you there, Paul. Appreciate that information. This webinar that we're discussing today, there may be some things that sound scary to you and like, how am I going to do this? You're going to have a lot of questions, and some of it might seem a little negative to you. How the robot, which is a computer, screens people's resumes, but the bot or robot computer can actually be your friend. And I'm going to tell you in a positive way, you will learn how to get past this robot and make the robot your friend, because you want to come out the other side and be one of the few people that get their resume through this process. So this is not a negative thing, it's a positive thing. It's going to encourage you that yes, you can, as long as you've got the skills and the proper formatting and everything else that Rhonda will speak about on about the robot. The robot is actually your friend. So let's move on with that little comment. Next slide. All right, job hunting in the digital age. Well, job hunting is different than it was 5 years ago, a lot different than it was 10, 20 or plus years ago. It's easier, but with easier comes some challenges. And this slide here talks about it. You can go to job search engines like Indeed, ZipRecruiter, and probably 50 more out there. You can search for jobs and you can apply for them. You can do even one-click applies is pretty common out there today. It's fast and easy. You can apply for dozens of jobs daily. Do you really want to apply for dozens of jobs daily? Probably not. You probably want to research companies and find out, is this a target company? So you can overdo it with these job searching things. Just keep clicking. And we're not recommending that. What's the not so good news is you can find these jobs. So can everybody else, probably around the world, quite frankly, can find these jobs and they can submit just like you can. It's no more walking into a company and dropping your resume off and asking to speak to the HR manager and wow them with your charm and your wit and get the job. That's not the age we live in anymore. The average corporate job posting receives at least 250 applications. I think that's a real light number. It depends on the position, but that's a lot. So this webinar will help you be one of those few that come out the other end of this system that we're going to be speaking about. Next. All right, recruiters and hiring managers, think about it. If you had a job and you received 250 resumes a day, it would be pretty intimidating. You couldn't really go through them very well. And the only way a company could deal with it is by hiring more HR people. Well, now there are computer programs that will look these resumes over, and those that make it through, those that have the matching keywords, those that are formatted correctly, those that have the skills will make it through. So that's a good thing. Scary thing here, studies suggest, and they're speaking about recruiter hiring managers, spend 6 seconds reading each resume. I don't know about you, I can't take in a whole page of paper in 6 seconds and really understand what I'm looking at. But that's, again, with the volume out there, they can't spend too much time. Now they will spend time once they get down to people that are qualified, that have matching keywords that look good, and review those. 75% of job applicants aren't qualified for the job. That's absolutely true. And Rhonda will get into this quite a bit. That's called matching keywords in the job description along, are they in your resume? And Rhonda will discuss that. Next. All right, this I hear all the time. I am a job coach and I do hear this like, gee, I applied for 10 positions, 20 positions. And in the past 3 months, I didn't even get an email back from anybody. And what does that mean? It means like, okay, is it a black hole? It is a black hole if you don't have the skills for the position you're applying for. That statistic about 75% of job applicants not qualified, it's true. Why do they send their resume in? Because they can apply easily. They can do these one-click apply things. So those will end up in a black hole, and you may get a form email back, you may get nothing. The technology, I've already discussed that. Instead of hiring more HR people, excuse me, to wade through these resumes, they're using this software. And it is used by 90, 95%. The majority of companies, particularly larger companies, do use it. And resumes are tossed before they're seen by human eyes. That's what we've been saying all along. If your resume is not ATS compliant, that's applicant tracking system compliant, and have the skills, which are going to be part of that ATS screening, you will not get a response, or you may get some computer generated type of response. Next. All right, we've alluded to it. It's called ATS, Applicant Tracking System. And yeah, pretty much what we've already said, just being a little repetitive. Move ahead, Paul. That's going to just spend a few seconds here. ATS, that's the software, and there are different varieties, different companies that create this software. There's customized software, I'm sure. You'll hear more about that later on. And that's just the scanning and filtering of your resumes. Next. All right, here's an article from the Wall Street Journal, and I'm not going to read you the whole thing, but I am going to pick out a couple lines here. Number one, hiring managers are deluged with resumes, as we've just spoken. Some of them are going back to using networks. What does that mean? It means that networking is very, very important, along with the whole getting your resume right and ATS thing correct. So they're using their network of contacts. Network of contacts could be recruiters, it could be different sources, could be people within that company, all kind of different things. So that's important. Number two, hiring managers are shutting down resume submissions after 2 to 3 days. When you see these jobs posted 45 days, posted 6 months ago, probably not a real, you'll probably end up in it with nothing if you click on it. Many times you will see this position is closed. Well, some of the aggregators, those are the companies that do these postings, it's hard for them to keep up to date, and there is a lot of outdated things out there. So what you want to do is try to set up alerts if you can, to be notified when a job comes up that you like. And this is not just through the large companies that are aggregators. You can do it even DuPage County. I get their postings every other day. I get postings from them. So it's on a local basis. You can do it, not just with these giant aggregators. So that's important. Set up so you know you don't want to apply on the third day and the second day they close it because they were swamped with good resumes. Number three, it's more important to get your resume customized to match job requirements and company industry. Yes, and Rhonda is going to go into that in a lot greater detail. It's important. You have to be, this little line says, you have to be 90% spot on with skills and experience. 90%. So if you think I match half of the qualifications, No, I'm not very, I'm not too good with Excel, and that's an important thing, but I'm good with Microsoft Word. Maybe that'll make it up. It probably won't. You probably have to be spot on with the majority. I don't know if it's exactly 90%, but a high percentage you do have to match if you hope to get through this. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Rhonda, and Rhonda is going to get into the nuts and bolts here.
Thank you, Charles. So the next slide. So how can you beat the bots? You have to create a resume that is ATS safe and compliant. So we're going to talk about the format for your resume, the headings that you use on your resume, even the font is important. And then this total emphasis today on keywords that in your resume that link directly to the job description that you're applying for. Next slide. So keep the formatting simple. There are basically 3 formats for resumes. The chronological resume, that's the one that we're most familiar with, where you start with your most current job and then kind of work your way back, probably no more than 10 or 15 years, no more than 15 years. And then a functional resume. With this resume, you, at the very top of the resume, you list 7 or 8 accomplishments that you've achieved throughout your career. And then toward the bottom of the resume, you would have a list chronologically your previous employers. And then of course there's a combination resume. But again, the chronological resume is probably the one that we're most familiar with. You always want to use bullet points where appropriate when you're listing your accomplishments for your various positions. Headers and footers should not be used on a resume, and especially do not include your contact information in a header because it will not be tracked by the applicant tracking system. So stay away from headers and footers. And then also in terms of the format of the resume, you don't want to use these horizontal lines. They kind of look nice, but they throw the applicant tracking systems off. So stay away from them. You don't want borders or shadings that will also negatively affect the ability of the ATS to read your resume. So stay away from those. Next slide, please. So you use standard headings on a resume. At the very top, of course, your contact information, which includes your name, your phone, your email address, and your LinkedIn address, if you have one. So include that. And then the next is the summary. And the summary will kind of give the reader an idea about who you are, what kind of experience you have. So you want to talk about your years of experience. You want to talk about the industry that you've been, that you've had your career in, whether it's hospitality, maybe warehouse management, retail. Then the next section of the summary is your hard skills. And then you conclude with your soft skills, like ability to work as a team member. Today, ability to work remotely is pretty common too. Then the next section is your work experience, and then volunteer and military experience. And then at the bottom is education. Then, in this summary and in this work experience sections, in these sections, you want to try to use as many of these key words as possible. And then the term references available on request is totally unnecessary. Next slide, please. Thank you. So here are some fonts that are recommended for resumes, and especially for resumes that will be reviewed by an applicant tracking system. Arial, Calibri, Helvetica, and Verdana. And then in terms of the point size, the size of the font, kind of recommend that maybe your name at the very top, maybe be a 14 point, maybe the standard headings on a resume could be 12, and then the actual text could be 12 also. But it's all, you can always kind of play around with these guidelines too, with these sizes and so on and so forth. Next slide. And the standardized dates of employment. This is important for these applicant tracking systems because they only recognize 2 digits for the month and 4 digits for the year. And always try to always include the month and the year. And so here at the very top, we have the correct formats. And then right below are the wrong formats. So note that you do not spell out the month. You use 2 digits. Next slide. So these keywords that we're talking about, you can, when you're reviewing job descriptions, they may require knowing Adobe, knowing PowerPoint, maybe some complicated type filing systems. So these kinds of keywords are skills and qualifications that have to be included in your resume so that you can get that match rate up. 90% is very, very high. And then the keywords also should be formatted to the job description. I'll give you an example here. Let's say you're a graphic designer and you're familiar and you're a lot of experience with Adobe Creative Cloud. But the job description that you're taking a look at uses the term Photoshop or Illustrator. So if the job description mentions Adobe Creative Suite, even though that's kind of an outdated term, you should include it. And so that way you would be getting that match. Here's another example. Let's say the job description, the title of the job that you're applying for is a senior web developer. Well, maybe you worked at a company for 6-7 years as the web developer, but your company, didn't have promotions and so on and so forth. You could rightfully say that you're a senior web developer, include that in your resume, that you were a senior web developer. The next slide, please. So here's some examples of these administrative keywords. And these are keywords for an administrative assistant position. So take a look at these management skills: control expenses, problem solving, administrative skills, accuracy, adaptability, attention to detail, Microsoft Office Suite, organizational skills, meeting deadlines, time management, and then communication skills, customer service, and excellent phone manners. Next slide, please. So resume tips, always use active verbs. And we have some listed here: achieved, conducted, generated, managed, and presented. And then we have some examples. Achieved 25% increase in quarterly sales. So in addition to an active verb, we also are using some metrics to really emphasize the importance of your accomplishments. Conducted training sessions for 15 new hires, and then managed a 25-person real estate office. So these are strong verbs, and the use of metrics will help your resume stand out. Next slide, please. And here are some more examples of metrics. Resolved 100% of customer complaints, created 3 new programs, received Team Lead Award for 100% on-time attendance. So here are these examples of metrics and the using of very strong verbs to describe your accomplishments and your work experience and skills. Next slide. So avoid writing about your job duties and focus on accomplishments. And here we have some examples. So don't try to avoid that, I worked in a call center, and instead write it in terms of an accomplishment. Quickly responded to customer needs by answering 99% of incoming calls. Of course, always use spell check. You don't want any misspellings or typos on your resume. And it's also helpful to try to read your resume backwards. That way you can really take advantage of that way you can catch the misspellings. Next slide. What is the best resume format, especially when you're using these applicant tracking systems? Generally, it's Microsoft Word, but in some instances, you may be required to submit the resume in a PDF file. And if you do use a PDF file, don't just scan it and attach it. You want to save that file on your laptop as a PDF, and so it can be submitted as a text file. And here we have some other examples of, so in addition to the .docx for Microsoft Word and PDF for Adobe, there's also the text, the RTF, the HTML, and then the ODT. Those file extensions are also frequently accepted by the applicant tracking systems. And then if you're maybe emailing your resume directly to somebody, you might consider using, and if you're mailing it or electronically, you might consider using it as sending it as a PDF file. Next slide. So here we can ask ourselves, will this resume pass the applicant tracking system? It's really, it has a lot of examples of what not to do. First of all, the font is in italic, and that's a big no-no. The use of these vertical lines, these horizontal lines, that's another big no-no. And if we, look, it's a job objective, it's not a professional summary. I am 30 years old and I like working with people to solve their problems. That's not a very good beginning for a resume. And then under this summary, we have pays, that second sentence, pays attention to documents detail. So these are some examples of what a very bad resume. And in addition to those bad examples, we can see too that the format for the dates is totally incorrect. Next slide. So here is a resume that's ATS compliant. The contact information at the very top of the resume is complete and succinct in the summary, dedicated bilingual professional. So it's kind of a combination of those introduction to who you are and what you can do. Strong attention to documents detail. And then the work experience, and notice on this resume, the use of these bullets to describe Mary Smith's accomplishments in her career. And so the next slide, please. So this is the job description that we're going to use to take a look at how to do this matching. So this is a job description from College of DuPage, and the resume we're going to use was just the one that we were looking at, the ATS compliant resume. And so we're going to demonstrate, Laura is going to demonstrate for us and talk about how these matching programs work. Laura?
Okay, hi. The next slide, Paul. So you can test, and it's a good thing to test a resume and a job description just so that you can get an idea of what we're talking about. Tag Crowd is just one of the ones we've used, and you can access it, tagcrowd.com. And what Tag Crowd does is it creates a cloud of words, and you copy your resume into a space, and Tag Cloud will do its thing, and you copy the job description into the area that'll be indicated in the side in the on the software. And it's incredibly easy. I mean, it was almost so easy I was surprised that it did. And you click on visualize. And Paul? So what you see is clouds, and a cloud is a group of words, and it tells you how many times that word has been used within that document. And you'll see here that administrative and student are very large, and they're bolded. And next to it, there's a number indicating the number of times the word was used. And for administrative and student, it's both 9. And then look at processes is used 5 times, and registration is used 5 times. College is used 5 times. Classes is used 7 times. The title of the job, it's an administrative job. It's at a college. They're working with students, and they're dealing with classes. So you expect those words to be used frequently. I want to make sure that you look at some of these smaller words and look at data, which is used 5 times, and documents, which is used 4 times, and flow, which is used 5 times, and maintains, and list, and processes. And even if you go down to words that have been identified as 3 times, and these might be hard for you to see: request, required, responsible, inputting, knowledge. This is the level that you need to go to. Pay attention to words like student. You don't have to have worked in a college in order to do this job, but you have to have the other skills that are there. And that's what Tag Crowd shows you. Okay, next. And this is the job description. And again, I went over that in detail, and this is just showing you in another view. And you can even see in what I again want for you to pay attention to are some of the smaller words as well as the larger words. And this is the job description. Paul, next slide. And this is the resume. So when you look at the job description, now you want to make sure that some of those words are in the resume. And you had college experience, and so you see college and documents, registration, student records as being repeated in your resume. But you've also included words like assisted and developed and maintained, policies, receptionist requirements, and skills, checking for discrepancies. You've included some of those other words in your resume. And that's what they're looking for when the computer, the ATS system, somebody has identified, when they set up the ATS, they've identified the skills that they're looking for. And they've gone through the job description and they've checked it. And now they're wanting to check your resume versus some of those skills. And this is where Rhonda talked about sometimes, and I was working with a resume, and the person I was working with, instead of using the word experience, used the word worked with. And I we worked and using some of the exact words, looking at data as opposed to looking at numbers, looking at discrepancies instead of finding errors. It's little things like that that you can be thinking of. And the other thing that I think it's so good is looking at the job description sometimes helps you look at some of those skills and accomplishments that you have. It gives you words that you can use, and it kind of piques and makes you think about what you're doing. Paul? There are a couple of websites for doing this. One is TagCrowd, JobScan, ResumeWorded.com, and SkillSyncer. They're all similar. TagCrowd has been, actually it was used for another purpose, and we've kind of, and it's been repurposed a little bit to look at these repeating words. And I just want to emphasize how valuable it is when you do this and looking to see what exactly the job description is asking for. You might miss some of that stuff, but start looking at a job description and even review your resume and write your resume based on some of those terminology. Use the terminology that they're looking for. Okay, Paul, now we're gonna look at the hiring process, and I can't emphasize this a little bit. I mean, I can't emphasize it too much. There's a way to get around this, and it's networking. And looking at and networking, even to be, I had a conversation with a client, he knows the type of job he wants. And so we were talking about Googling the companies that hire that job. And it happens to be a title researcher. And so it's a very specific title. He can Google title companies in DuPage and Cook County and come up with companies that would hire a title researcher. And that's networking. Talk to the receptionist. Maybe sometimes you can get passed to someone else, find out what they're doing, where their locations are. Ask whatever kinds of questions you can to establish that relationship. Talking to past employers, asking them if you were a good employee, asking them if they'll give you a reference, but do you know someplace that do you know somebody who's hiring? Always, when you network, it's not, I need a job, I'm looking for a job. What's important with networking is that you can say, I'm looking for a job as a title developer, title reviewer. I have skill in A, B, and C, and I'm looking for something where I could use my experience in these areas. Your neighbors don't want to know how desperate you are to find a job. They want to know what your skills are so that then they could maybe talk to someone else who might be looking for a job. A while ago, we did have a situation where one of our clients actually was talking to a babysitter, explaining that they were looking for a job and doing whatever, and talked about what they were looking for. The babysitter also babysat for someone else who had experience in that job, connected the two, and the first person, it was a way of networking. And that's a very abstract way of networking, but network, think about who you can talk to. Employee referrals, if you know of someone who you've worked with before, someone who's working for, in a company that might be able to, call these people and talk to them. People like to talk. I mean, it's, and so they will have conversations with you. But then again, you're telling this person not how bad you need a job, what skill you have and what you can do and what you want to do for a company. It's a little bit like an interview when you go out and network somebody. And even if you get past the ATS system and you go to an interview, you have to sell yourself. So it's good practice to practice selling yourself with somebody you know. Okay, next slide. So now we put together just a small quiz, and we're virtual. So looking again at these resumes, and it's kind of hard to see the first resume, but it's looking at which resume is the most ATS appropriate, which one's going to pass through the screen. And I think what Rhonda has said is that we know that A and B are kind of too pretty. They're too fancy for the ATS system. And so we need to go with something that's as simple as we can. And so go with section C. And how many major companies use the ATS system? Charles told us it's an amazing high number. It's 90%. So it's something we don't need to be afraid of, but it's something we need to understand. And what are the best methods to get a job? Apply on Indeed, walk into a company and deliver your resume, receive a referral from a current company employee and apply directly to the company's website. Always looking at getting the referral. And I did actually have a client get applied when he walked into the company and personally delivered his resume. So applying on Indeed can work, but the more you're able to network, the more it's going to work. Okay, next. We've got a couple of more test questions. The best font to use when submitting a resume. I love Arial, and I have used Arial for years, and I highly recommend it. And there are a couple of others that Rhonda talked about. But a resume is not a pretty document. It's not a time to be able to demonstrate your creativity. And Rhonda also addressed you should send your resume as a PDF or Word to employers. And we always have a resume in the Microsoft Word format. It's what's most used. And if you don't have it, libraries can help you format your resume into Microsoft Word. We can also help with that. A PDF is a really good thing if you're just sending it directly to a company. And they're asking for an attached resume. It kind of prevents viruses. It saves your computer, it saves their computer, and they don't need to be manipulating it. You should never use headers and footers on your resume. And this is definitely, headers and footers are so not ATS compatible. They might look pretty. When I did a resume, yeah, you had a header and a footer, but you never have a header and footer now. It's just way not going to get, it will automatically get thrown out with a header and footer. You don't even get to first base. Okay, Paul, one more. The ATS reads Microsoft Word, MS Word, and Word as the same program? Not necessarily. It depends on how it was delivered. How it was described in the job description. That's the words you want to use. If they said Microsoft Word, you say Microsoft Word. If they said Microsoft Suite, you say Microsoft Suite with a specialty in Word if you want to. The career objective section on a resume is a waste of space. Yeah, there are other things you can say about yourself. We want to know about your accomplishments. The employer wants to know what you are going to do for them. And this is the opportunity for you to sell yourself. Which format for dates of employment is correct? And Rhonda reviewed this. Always put, even if it's February, put 02 and not just 2. And that's something that I have to remember. Charles reminded me, and something that I meant to mention when we were talking about TagCrowd, most of those sites are free and you don't have to pay for them. They were there and they were used for something different, actually, for writers. And they've been repurposed. And so and they're free. And so by all means, take your resume and the job description and put them in through the Tag Crowd or whatever you want to use. Okay, Paul?
So as we're nearing the end of the presentation, I wanted to pause and just remind you about our PRC Job Assistance Program. So if you really enjoyed the information and found it informative, your job coach at PRC can help you sort of navigate the applicant tracking system and work with you one-on-one to make sure that your resume is able to beat the ATS for whatever job that you're applying for. So in order to become a PRC client and get involved with our jobs program, there's two ways that you can join. So the first one is to call this number here on the screen and dial extension 333. Once you get over to that line, it'll give you the ability to leave a voicemail. So if you just leave your name and number, we have an administrative assistant that will call you back, usually within 24 hours. They're really good with doing it, sometimes on the same day, and get you registered for our next orientation. A couple quick reminders. We do have your one-to-one job coaching, individualized mentoring. So, you can kind of come into this program, just say, hey, I really need help with, finding places to apply for jobs. I need help with my resume. I really just need to talk to a job coach and help me construct answers to common interview questions. We can do everything that you need for your job search, and we can individualize it based on your individual needs and what you're trying to do. If you want to check us out on our website, just go to peoplesrc.org. Top left-hand corner, you can go to Services and click Job Assistance. Once you get to the Job Assistance page, there's a How to Get Started that has the same number that I just had on the previous screen. You can call the 333 number and leave your name and number. Or if you prefer to do things online, below it says there's a click here link. You click there, that takes you to a quick Google form. It'll bring you to a Google interest form where you can just fill out some of the basic information, and then somebody will call you back and then set you up for an orientation as well. And that's a quicker step just to get in the system so we can get you registered quicker. So there's a couple different ways to get involved with PRC. Now, as we kind of near the end of the presentation, we'd love to take any questions that you might have. I think I have a few in the chat box. Michael asked, any recommendations for how long a resume should be, especially for someone with 15 years of experience?
Michael, it always, depends, but certainly no longer than one page, or one page is the recommendation, but there may be reasons to maybe have a page and a half, but generally one page.
Thanks, Rhonda. Anybody else have any questions?
I don't see any other questions coming in.
Okay.
For those of you who are still with us, thank you very much. I actually thought this information was very helpful. I actually took some screenshots of some of the slides for myself. Thank you very much. Just to clarify, in order to become a client of PRC, the People's Resource Center, what is the basic requirement? Do you have to live in DuPage County? Do you have to be below a certain income level? What are the basic requirements?
The only basic requirement is that you have to live in DuPage County. You have to have a DuPage County address or be in the process of moving it to DuPage County. So if you're living in the city right now, but in transition to DuPage County, we would be able to take you on as a client, but we do ask that people are a part of DuPage County. Other than that, there's no other criteria.
Wonderful. And to answer Michael's question, will this PowerPoint be shared with attendees? This program has been recorded. You can access the recording. It usually takes us a day or two, but you should be able to access this recording through the Glen Ellen Public Library's calendar, which might have been how you found out about the program, but it will be recorded. You can also contact PRC if you have follow-up with questions. So go ahead and contact PRC. I am also going to put my email in the chat. I am Beth Clower. I am the business liaison at the Glen Ellen Public Library. You are always welcome to contact me if you have further questions as well. So either contact me at the library or contact the People's Resource Center for follow-up questions. Does anyone have any other question or comment? Go ahead and put that in the chat.
Yep. And one thing to note too, we just added a series of similar videos to this. Some of the workshops that we do in and around DuPage County, the ones that we record, we post on our jobs webpage as well. So if you're interested in learning about additional topics, there are some videos for you to view up there as well. And we do one, there's one on there with LinkedIn. We have another one on like landing the job, so it's interviewing. So there's a couple other ones that are some great content. And we're creating new workshops all the time. We have a new one coming out really soon about changing careers, since a lot of people are looking to leave industries and get into new ones. So we did a really great workshop on that. So keep on the lookout for other stuff on our website. And I know that we'll be back with Glen Ellen Public Library in the future too.
Absolutely.
Hopefully in person at some point.
That would be very nice, but we do continue, the Glen Ellen Public Library does continue to partner with the People's Resource Center. So you will see their programs through us as well throughout the coming year or the rest of this year. But anyway, so I just want to say again, very much thank you to the People's Resource Center. Thank you to all of the volunteers who come and help present this program. Paul, I'll let you have the final goodbye.
Sure. Well, thanks everybody. And if you're interested in becoming a client, my email's there. Please reach out to me personally and I can help you get started. So we look forward to seeing you all. Thank you.
Yeah. Everyone have a good day.
Bye.
Okay, thanks for attending.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Beth.
Thanks. Bye-bye.